So right now I'm finishing up an outline for a book that I'm working on, helping a bunch of startups that I've invested in, helping a few other startups that I helped start, and generally just trying to be a New York tech entrepreneur.
Do you have a team around you or people around you that really help you kind of to make sure you're as efficient as possible and as productive as possible throughout the day?
One of my best kept secrets, which I'm going to expose here just for you, is something called Fancy Hands, which is it's a remote personal assistant service, and I've tried a number of them. But what makes this one special is that the remote personal assistants are all hipsters in Brooklyn and Portland, so I can bang out a really quick email that's pretty much unintelligible to anyone who's not like a native English speaker, and they'll get back to me nearly instantly, and usually with a bunch of extra helpful advice. So whether or not I'm trying to pick out some scotch for someone I've recently done business with, I'll usually get someone who comes back at me who says not only a number of great recommendations and where to order it online, but also can give me a little extra and say, oh, by the way, if you think he likes this, he'll definitely like this. I happen to be a Scotch snob, and so it's that extra little bit of help that is just magical.
What about the screen in front of you during the day? You mentioned that obviously you're using your smartphone on a regular basis. When you sit down at your computer, what are the tools that you engage with fairly regularly?
I spend nearly all of my life somewhere between Gmail and Google Calendar. And then, of course, when I'm not working nearly as hard, it's on Reddit or Hacker News. But the most useful app, aside from Dropbox, which I think now has pretty much become indispensable for anyone who uses the internet, is something called Rescue Time, which is it's another YC company that does a really great job in the background monitoring all of the sites you use. Now that sounds a little big brotherish, but don't worry, only you can see it. And it's actually a really, really helpful way to post-mortem a day or a week, or usually a month once you've got a nice big sample size, just to get an idea of what the heck you've been spending all your time on.
How do you continue to try to give back to different communities while you're also trying to be productive, make money, and earn a living? How do you keep those two things in perspective?
I've always kind of looked for opportunities to make the world suck less along the way, and sometimes it's more explicit by like working with donors choose to come up with a great fundraiser like the one we had in Austin a few days ago with the two famous Zacks on the internet, Zach Anner and Zach Wiener, or just more generally trying to be helpful to people who are doing awesome stuff on the internet. It's such a great platform for talent that you can't help but get excited by it.
Gary Vee is all about the hustle. You hear about other people that they have their own philosophies in terms of how they get through their day and do the best that they can possibly do. What's your philosophy?
I totally agree with the mantra of hustle, but at the same time, Reddit dominated my life for the 16 or so months that we were a startup. And that was for a lot of good reasons and for some not so good reasons. And I always encouraged founders, especially startups that I've invested in or that I advise through Y Combinator, to make sure that they do take some time to appreciate the fact that, they've only got one shot at this. If this were a video game, it would say lives remaining 0 at the top. And you've got to keep that in mind while also doing awesome stuff that, you have a life too.